Welcome to the introductory part of this web design course. In this module, you're going to learn the basics of web design. You will understand the terminologies web designers use so that you will understand what is going on along the way. In this module, we're going to outline a few things and answer some questions. We're going to answer the question, what is a website? What are the requirements for creating a website? What is web hosting? What is a domain name? What is DNS? What is a name server? What is a domain registrar? What is a hosting provider? What is Cpanel? Now, what is a website? A website is a collection of web pages made up of different components such as text, images, videos, icons, etc. What are the requirements for creating a website? To create a website, you need a domain name and a hosting service. A domain name is provided by domain registrars, and a hosting service is provided by hosting service providers. What is web hosting? A web hosting is a place or computer where all your website files are stored. This computer is provided and managed by a web hosting provider. You cannot see it or touch it. Let me give you an analogy. I'll use a house. Inside your house, you have furniture, you have gadgets, you have kitchen utensils. Those are the components that are within your house. They are stored inside your house. Now, these components are your website components. They are your pages, your text, your images, your videos, etc. Now, your house itself, which contains all those gadgets, is your web hosting provider or is your web hosting. Now, your web hosting houses all of your website content, which means it is housing your website content. What is a domain name? A domain name is the address people type into a browser to visit your website. Examples of domain names include sandraibeleme.com, expertnear.com, sportybet.com, etc. Now, using the house analogy again, if your web hosting is the house itself that contains all of the contents of your website, the domain name is your house address. So basically, when someone is looking for your house, the person looks for your house using an address. The same way when someone is looking for your website, the person looks for your website using an address, and that is what the domain name is. It is the address of your website. What is a DNS? A DNS is the short form for domain name server. It's referred to as the directory of the internet. So if you knew about phone directories from the past, then that's what this is like, because it contains records of a domain name and its corresponding IP address. Computers make use of the IP address to recognize your website, while humans make use of the domain name to recognize your website. The IP address of your website is a number form, and it's impossible for you to remember all the IP addresses of all the websites you visit. So that is why it is for computers. And for humans like you and I, we use the domain name. What is a name server? A name server is a server that keeps all of your DNS information. The job of your name server is to direct your browser to the computer, which is the hosting service where your website files are stored. Name servers are different from one hosting provider to another, and so they contain different website information. Like, they contain all the information of the websites hosted on that computer. So how does this all work together? Simply put, when someone types your domain name into their browser, the name server points to the DNS where your domain name information is stored, so that your browser can use your domain's IP address to locate your website files within the hosting provider's computer and display those contents on your screen. For example, when someone looks for your website online, what the name server does is to point the browser to the computer where your DNS record is stored, which means where your domain name and the corresponding IP address is stored. Now, when the browser finds where your domain name and its corresponding IP address is stored, it uses that IP address to locate your files. These are now the files that will be shown on the screen for whoever is browsing through your website. What is a domain registrar? A domain registrar is a company that allows you to purchase and register a domain name. There are several domain registrars, and I will show you most of them in the next module. What is a hosting provider? A hosting provider is a company that provides the needed technology for your website files to be stored. I'll also show you the most popular web hosting providers in the next module. How do you purchase a domain and hosting? To purchase a domain and hosting service, you have to make payments to a domain registrar or a hosting provider. This payment is subscription based and can be made monthly or yearly depending on the company. What is a cPanel? A cPanel is an online Linux-based graphical interface used as a control panel to simplify website and server management. The cPanel is where you manage most of the activities of your website, just like the control panel on your PC. That is where you control the different things on your website. It allows you to publish websites, manage domains, organize web files, create email accounts, and more. You will understand more of this as we proceed in this course. Now, this is the end of the introductory module, so you can proceed to module 2, where we're going to start talking about how to purchase your domain name and your hosting, as well as how to set up your website.